Hi, I'm Ross.
And I'm Daniel from Eyebrow Cinema.
And we're going to be talking about No Time to Die. So, Dan, you are a moderate James Bond fan, it could be said.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, I've been a Bond fan for about a year. So in a way, this is kind of like my first Bond movie that I am experiencing as a fan of the Bond movies. And, well, I cannot say I was disappointed.
Okay.
That's the best way I think I can sum it up.
That's a loaded way to sum it up.
Name? Bond. James Bond.
No Time to Die is the final adventure for Daniel Craig's James Bond as he comes out of retirement to face a new enemy that threatens to destroy the world. I think where we both sit on this in general is that there are a lot of really good moments in this movie that serve a fairly unsatisfying whole.
Yes.
It's the longest Bond movie ever also, right?
Yep.
Didn't feel it. Didn't feel nearly as long as Spectre did. It goes for 240, which is impressive. It is moving the whole time. The problems just start to crop up when you consider all the James Bond stuff, both in terms of the Craig era and the franchise as a whole. What this movie is trying to say and do with James Bond as a character and as an icon is where it really starts to lose me.
But if you as an audience member are kind of just looking for a good, well-made action movie, this is pretty good. It is very well paced. Action scenes are consistently of a high quality. Looks good. Actors are, with one notable exception, pretty good. As a story, and especially for a Bond fan, it's tricky. And the main reason is because James Bond dies in this one and it's bullshit and I hate it.
Yeah, James Bond dying, in theory, is not a bad thing. I don't disagree with it, and I don't even disagree with it as an ending for this movie in particular. It's just that the ending and the final moments and the emotional heft of everything is hinged on really weak stuff. Like an action scene will pop up and you'll be like, oh yeah, Bond action, this is fun. Cary Fukunaga makes damn good action sequences. And then you're just back to this stupid story about Bond and his secret daughter and Madeline Swan.
Yeah,
and
the love of his life, Madeline Swan.
Oh, can we talk about Madeline Swan?
Can you name characteristics of Madeline Swan? Can you describe her personality?
Madeline Swan's character she is pretty.
Mm-hmm.
She is beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
She is attractive. She hold gun.
You've been poisoned.
Yes.
You really need to buy in that this is like this grand sacrifice for the woman he loves. That of all the women that have come before in the series and will come after, this is special. And it's just not. You don't buy that relationship. Madeline herself as a character has almost nothing going on. She can do like competent things for a movie, but as a person, there's like nothing there. He abandons her at the beginning of the film because he thinks she betrayed him. With somewhat fair logic, you see where he's coming from.
It's Blofeld, my love. Your father would be so proud of you.
And then 5 years later, he comes back, they come together, oh, she has a kid, and it's his kid. She doesn't even seem that mad that she was abandoned when she was pregnant by her lover for years. He just comes back and, they're just fine.
I have loved you. And I will love you.
Like, it feels like this is a character and a relationship we've been watching for movies at a time. Not one kind of good movie from a few years ago that no one liked, in a relationship that absolutely no one liked.
Well, yeah, I mean, I like Spectre, but I like Spectre in spite of that relationship.
Oh, God, yeah, no. Nothing good about Spectre has to do with Madeline, much like how nothing good about No Time to Die has to do with Madeline.
I love you.
I love you too.
As anyone who knows me and knows the way I watch movies, I am very easy to get emotionally. I cry at everything. I cry at several James Bond movies.
I'm aware.
But it's not inconceivable to me that even with all my cynicism, I could still be choked up by this kind of ending if that relationship resonated.
Yeah.
And it does not. The ending that they did provide, to me, is totally shallow and empty because it feels like a big dramatic thing in the moment, like a lot of this movie, but is ultimately pointless when in the credits you straight up say James Bond will return.
Yeah.
If I had, in the moment at least, been emotionally invested enough that the death resonated, that wouldn't have mattered as much, but I wasn't. So all I have to go on is like how this ending fits as a story beat thematically and intellectually within the series. And I think it fails.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. Like, I can talk about being a fanboy about this, and there's truth to it. I'm not going to pretend that I am watching this as like a cold, objective
and you shouldn't.
analysis machine.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sitting in the theater mad, like, how dare they do this to my hero, so much as I was just kind of like, okay, I can see what they're doing, but it's just not, I don't think it's landing.
We don't need to go faster. We have all the time in the world.
The film is very clearly indebted to On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
You think?
Yeah, just a smidge.
You have all the time in the world.
And I have a lot of feelings about its use of Majesty, which is my favorite Bond film. I love that film, and I am not at all surprised that they would look to it as like a model, because it does feel unintentionally in a lot of ways that film feels like an ending for the character. So going back to it as a source makes sense. Because this relationship between Bond and Madeline doesn't work, it almost feels like the movie is outsourcing its emotional connection.
We have all the time.
And I understand why people would react emotionally to that ending.
Have
but
people, though?
I've heard people say they cried and individual moments like that are pretty well crafted, or at least well crafted by blockbuster standards, because God knows they've been more boring than this and more lazy than this. Like,
Sure.
The only real faults in this movie don't come from filmmaking or direction. It's purely just like there's too much shit in there, and most of it is kind of boring. I wish I cared more.
You know, if you eat them, they can cause your heart to just stop.
Rami Malek's villain, Safin,
Mr. the Devil.
is terrible in this film.
Awful.
So here I am, their invisible god.
I mean, the performance is pretty weak, but the bigger issue is the writing. When the character's first established, like, his family was wiped out by Spectre, so he wants to destroy Spectre. Cool. After he destroys Spectre, he's like, I just want to destroy everyone. You know, you're supposed to kind of read between the lines, essentially, of what his motivations is. I think it's meant to be in the same vein as, like, Drax or Stromberg from Moonraker and Spy Who Loved Me, this character who wants to kind of build a new utopia through destruction.
I just want to be a little tidier.
It just feels strange that, like, the final villain Daniel Craig faces is an evil, crazy poison man who wants to steal his wife and child.
Yeah.
And make them his own, but also as soon as the child shows the slightest bit of resistance, he just lets her go. So I guess he didn't care. Early on, it's established, like, okay, his family was killed. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe he wants to create his own twisted little family or something.
There you go.
Safin is so generically evil that I imagine he could do literally anything, and that makes him very boring.
You don't buy that he would be a credible threat to accomplish what he does. It actually could have been kind of neat if he's just a guy. As a story idea, that's not bad, but they do try to hype him up in that final act as, like, uniquely able to get under Bond's skin. He has this whole monologue about
History of violence, license to kill. Vendetta with Ernst Blofeld in love with Madeleine Swan.
They're building him up like he's Bond's opposite number, but he is not in any way. I bought that with Silva.
Yes.
I bought it with Silva just fine. I did not buy it, maybe with Blofeld as like an intellectual counter to Bond, to this Bond in particular, but like Safin's just nothing.
I could save your life.
My avenging angel.
You have to consider this as well as a sequel to Spectre. So what Spectre did was introduce Spectre, and Spectre was behind everything. And then you have a guy come in and kill all of Spectre in one scene, and then Blofeld is dead 20 minutes later. And it's like, okay, then what was the point of Spectre then?
It's almost like taking a series that had for decades been episodic and trying to decide, no, actually, it's a serial, it's an ongoing saga, was a bad idea.
I don't know. I'm on the fence.
This is going to go brilliantly.
I know. I've done 3 weeks training.
I feel like I enjoyed half of this movie. You can't fault the Bond stuff. I can't say the gadgets were uninteresting. The car chase was sick. The motorcycle chase was sick. All the hand-to-hand stuff was great. The forest fight was awesome.
I love the action scene in Cuba. in part because it does feel just like a cool, stylish James Bond action scene. It's suave, it's sophisticated, it's sexy, and it's exciting.
The movie gets really, really, really good a lot, and then whenever it switches gears back to Madeline or back to Safin or back to some weird Heracles thing, it's like, no, keep the other movie going. I like the other movie. I like the Bond movie we were just in.
Very hard to know what to say, but I thought we should gather and remember.
I had fun with this. I enjoyed watching it, but nothing about it really stuck out to me as like, that was a great adventure. You know, reflecting on the Craig era as a whole, I'm like, there's one really, really good movie, one really terrible one, and then 3 that I think are perfectly okay. I think Casino Royale is the only one of these movies that functions entirely.
Yes.
If I ever want to go back and rewatch all the Bond movies, I'll watch this.
Yeah.
I don't think I would ever go out of my way to like watch this on a boring afternoon. Yeah, I don't know. This is fine. It's fine. And I didn't want it to be just fine. That's my biggest complaint. I wish it was more than just fine to me. But hey, you know, there's some good Bond stuff in there, and I will rewatch the action scenes on YouTube. So that's something.
And, you know, credit where it's due. They did take risks with this film. We can't fault it for being safe or boring or, I don't know, lazy intellectually. They put in a lot of work and didn't land for either of us, I think, especially for myself. But that's okay.
Yeah, because there will be another one.
There will always be more. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So overall, No Time to Die. Not for me, not for you. But me.
5 stars.
Yeah.